Hey, everybody, I'm Tasha.
And I'm April.
And we're with the Handmade Network. Today, we are talking about a hot button topic. We are going to chat about having emotional responses to Etsy changes.
Yes.
I know y'all seen it, y'all heard it. Etsy makes a change in the whatever.
Everybody loses it.
All of the stuff. They just lose it all. So let's chat about that. Is that a warranted response? Should we feel some kind of way when Etsy changes stuff? What do you think, April?
Well, I have definitely had emotional responses to Etsy changes in the past. And it has been one of those things where I have vowed that I need to stop this because it is not good for my, for me. Like it's not a good thing. So yes, I way back in, I don't even remember what year it was when Etsy made the big decision to sort of move away, like to redefine handmade. That was what it was. We're redefining handmade. And that was a big thing for a lot of people, and a lot of people were not happy. And their response to it was, I'm going to close my Etsy shop and I'm going to go somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's, I think it's really hard to run a business when you start making decisions that didn't come from you, like if you're making decisions because this is part of your plan as a business, then wonderful, like you have a plan. But when you are making decisions for your business that are solely based on what another company does, that's a very reactive approach to decision making, and can produce things that you're not necessarily planning on.
Mm-hmm. And I actually think that that's probably one of the downfalls or the downsides of being an Etsy seller. Like when you have a shop that's on Etsy, you are subject to this platform and the changes they decide to make, and they don't have to consult you before they make the changes.
That's right. And I don't really want to consult Etsy when I make a change in my own business.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't want to have to be like, so I think I'm going to raise my prices. Etsy, is that okay with you?
Right. They're like, we don't care. You make more money. We make more money.
That's right.
But
amen. Yes.
But with Etsy, like when they make their changes, Etsy's number one thing is they want sellers. They need sellers. Without sellers, Etsy doesn't work at all.
Yeah.
So they're trying to make, and I don't work for Etsy. I'm not trying to speak for them or whatever, but they're trying to make the decisions that are going to be the best for their community long term. And as shop owners, we feel those changes. A lot of times we feel them immediately. Like when they made changes with the forums, when they started making changes with the algorithm, with the front page, when they redefined handmade, when they went public, like there were a lot of things that we felt though the impact of that stuff. But, overall, it allowed for a marketplace that now a small business can start really small, but you don't have to stay small. With that manufacturing help for people whose businesses were going so well when they were doing handmade, they had to find ways to be able to produce faster because they had so many customers on Etsy. And it's not fair to punish that small business and no, you have to stay small. You can't get bigger. Like that, that doesn't fit in the long game for what Etsy wanted for their sellers too. So a lot of times they make decisions and it feels unfair in the moment, but for the greater good of all, so to speak, the decisions get made. But
I think the other thing is, since like we kind of well, we kind of designed this conversation to say emotional responses to Etsy changes, because what people like, I think that at least when I got on Etsy way back in 2008, Etsy was like this magical unicorn. It was like, oh, this is a marketplace where people who actually make things one at a time can actually sell their things, and not be on eBay, or not, I don't even know if Amazon was selling products at the time, or if they were still a bookstore, but they were definitely moving toward the product selling. And it was like, this is a place where we actually have a chance. But it didn't, everything felt connected. Like the people who ran Etsy were visiting the forums, and they were interacting with the sellers. So Etsy almost sort of made themselves out to be this really hands-on company. And now they have moved away from that, which is part of the reason I think people had such an emotional response to some Etsy changes, because we were sort of conditioned to feel like Etsy was like a human being that interacted with us. But Etsy is not a human being. Etsy is a company, and they make decisions based on their bottom line, not on my bottom line.
Yeah, you said a whole lot right there. And I think the biggest thing is it can't stay small.
Poor Tasha is getting over having the COVID, and she's got a cough sometimes. So, and I had a cold last week. Like, we're all in this, And so this is my community message. If you're sick, if you, even if you don't have COVID, just stay home, wear your mask so other people don't get the mess, because none of us want to get sick.
Nobody. That COVID thing knocked me out for 2 whole weeks. Oh my God. Anyway, but I forgot what I was talking about.
We were talking about, I think you were talking about, like, you're a small business and you don't have to stay that way.
Exactly. Because even with Etsy, it's a small business too. But that life cycle of the business, like in the beginning, things are so small, so things are a lot more connected, and it's a lot easier to manage that stuff. But then if you want to grow, then all of a sudden you can't be so hands-on with certain things, because you only have so much time. You only have so much energy. If you try to spread yourself too thin, then you burn all the way out. So it's a weird dynamic to kind of balance. But I know the first emotional response I ever had to an Etsy change was when they decided to change how new shops could be discovered. I don't remember exactly what the change was, but it did deal with that front page. I don't know if do you remember?
Yeah.
And
they used to pop it up at the bottom of the front page, where everything, like as it was listing, would go a little banner.
Oh yeah.
Although I can't imagine that would even be able to happen in the day we are now, because I don't know how many things get listed on Etsy, but it's a whole lot more than it was. It's way more than that little banner.
Yeah, and I used to do that. I would post something and then run to the front page to watch it
go by,
and then go back to the listing to see how many people started looking at it. But when they changed that, I went from getting one new sale every day from somebody I did not know. I literally was getting a sale every day to nothing.
Yeah.
It flatlined. And I don't remember how long that period lasted, but my shop had never seen that type of consistency again. It wasn't like I started a whole nother shop before I started seeing that type of consistency again. But I remember I was upset. I'm like, why would they change this? This was working so good for me. It took me forever to get my first order. And then when I finally got the first order, and then they started rolling in a little bit, then I'm like, this is great. It works, until it didn't work. Yeah. But I was upset, and I did consider taking my shop off of there. But then my thought was, where would I go? and at that time, I didn't know anything about Shopify. So I'm like, where would I go and how would I get customers? And I was like, okay, so let me just stick with this platform some more and learn more about e-commerce and just business in general, and how to navigate this thing and make it all work in my favor.
Yeah. Well, I think, recently, I think in the recent years, I don't think the changes that Etsy has made are nearly as polarizing as some of those changes. I mean, like the redefining handmade was big. And then some of the changes around like the front page and how they were presenting sellers. Those were really like polarizing changes, I think. And now most of the changes that Etsy makes seem to be around fees and how fees are assessed for advertising and things like that. And as someone who has been on Etsy for a really long time, these changes are, I think, way easier for me to process. It's hard for me to see it in a where I like forget everything else and I look at this change as like a new seller. But I think that really like being aware of exactly what Etsy fees are and exactly how things are shown to, when you search for things on Etsy, like these types of things, it's very important for new sellers to do their due diligence when they're setting up on the Etsy platform so that they don't feel like, an announcement is like, wow, this is a thing. So anyway, I think I've just learned, making this concerted effort to not respond to an Etsy change has been, it's really helped me like in my business, like keep my power over my own business, because I have my pricing set up. I almost stopped pricing things for Etsy and I started pricing things for wholesalers. And because I have that cushion built into my pricing, I don't really worry so much about Etsy advertising and Etsy fees and these sort of things. Like I have a lot of cushion built in there. So when I do raise my prices, it is across the board. And it's because I need to make these changes for my business as a whole, not as a response to an Etsy change.
Yeah, I think that's a really good balance too. And I love that you have a shop outside of Etsy, like your own standalone store, but then you also have this Etsy shop. And it just sounds like you have a really clear viewpoint of how you view your business and what's the word I'm looking for? There's like this place that Etsy holds. There's a certain part of your business that's around Etsy, and then there's a certain spot for your overall business, and you make the decisions that help it to they work together. So yeah, it might suck over here for Etsy, but it might be great over here for this, or vice versa. I hope that made sense. It made sense in my head when I said it. But yeah, but I love the balance of how you view your business. And I think that it gives you a healthier relationship to Etsy because of that. So then you don't you're not so distraught if Etsy makes a change. And you're not so up in arms that you can't make the best decisions for your business because you're stuck on this one thing that Etsy did.
Well, I didn't start my business on Etsy. I started my business outside of Etsy.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's always felt like Etsy was another place that I sold, just like a craft show. Like that was just another place that I sold things. And or whenever I've been in a brick and mortar store, like it's just another place that I have my things available for people to purchase. And so that's always what Etsy has been to me. And I'm grateful for the platform. I mean, there's definitely been some years where I needed to only sell from home, and I didn't need, I mean, goodness gracious. I mean, 2020 was the defining moment because all the stores closed down. There is no craft shows. I mean, I know lots of crafters who their entire business is based on selling at craft shows. And they were completely shut down, completely. And they did not have a backup. And I think that they had felt like they were diversified before because all of the money they made never came from the same craft show, but they always sold things in very much the same manner. And when 2020 hit, bam, it was a big thing. And I think 2020 really, one of the really good things that came out of 2020 was that it really hammered home all of the work that I had done leading up to that point, that I wasn't just an Etsy seller. I didn't just have my own website. I didn't just sell in stores. I didn't just do craft shows occasionally. Like I did all of these things. So when one of them broke, or when four of them broke, I had another one in my pocket already. And I am very fortunate that I had done it that way. And I'm completely aware that not everyone was fortunate enough to have the time and the resources to spread themselves out like that way. But I think that's a lot of what you've done over the years is you have diversified yourself enough to where your income has not been dependent on one thing that you did.
Yeah, that pandemic really did highlight that, because even up to that point, I was doing other things like selling merchandise for my music, and then also having jewelry and a t-shirt line. But touring was my number one. That was the main income source. And in one conversation, an entire calendar of dates for the whole year gone. And my income from that went right with it. Now I'm just like, well, now what do I do?
Yes.
So I'm still glad to have my Etsy shop, and I do have my e-commerce shop, which I need to do more with, but it's just balancing my energy and priorities. And sometimes the balance looks like spending more of my time over here and much less of my time. Like I can't spend an equal amount of time on all the things. Like that's not balanced either. So yeah, that's awesome.
Well, I think it's just important, that when Etsy does make a change, I think it's just important to sit down, like write, if you have to, like write down what Etsy is changing, like just write it down. I know that I'm trying to think of the last like big changes that Etsy made, just to make an example about it.
Mm.
I think one of the big things was their advertising fee, and that if you made over $10,000 in the last 12 months, you would be automatically put into the Google ads, where you were paying 12% if an item sold from that ad display.
Mm-hmm.
Lots of people were absolutely furious that they were going to have to participate in this in. But if you write it down, that this isn't every sale. This, it's not like they're taking 12% off of every single sale that you're getting now. And it is mandatory, but it, in the scope of how you can advertise on Google, I definitely don't think it's the most expensive thing. Like, you're not paying for every ad that is clicked on, so every time somebody clicks on your ad, you're not paying 12%.
Mm-hmm.
That when somebody buys something from that ad, you are paying 12%, but it's only from that one sale. It's not over, and personally, my personal experience on Etsy has been that this percentage, this assessment, the number of sales that I've gotten based on these Google ads is just not all that many.
Mm-hmm.
And 12% for advertising is not that expensive when it comes to, what some people pay. And so when I saw a lot of people, responding to this, but it was not, they did not have time to sit down and look at it in a monetary standpoint, because it was brand new and they didn't have any data to look back on. And so I think, while I understand that they would have a response to this, because all of a sudden it's a fee they didn't have to pay before, that it's very important as a business owner to not make rash decisions, like you are not in a war zone, and rash decisions aren't required.
Right. Absolutely. So yeah, I think that's great advice. So it's like when Etsy announces a change, to pause, soak in what that change is, and then see how this is going to affect your shop.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, just be realistic about it. And then from there, make whatever changes or adjustments that need to happen, so that you can keep moving forward towards your business goals. I think that's, yeah.
And I think also, this is one of the benefits that we used to have on the Etsy forums, although maybe not.
Okay.
Hey, I'm rethinking this. So it used to be like the Etsy forum used to be like a much more like, it was a place you could go to like really easily. And I don't even go to the Etsy forums anymore. So, I mean, although I used to be really active in the Etsy forums before they changed them, but it was almost, it was, you got all these responses all in one place, but it was really hard to sort of realize that not every Etsy seller went to this place. This wasn't, it was it wasn't a cross section of the entire Etsy community. It was a very small percentage, and but the sort of airing of grievances happened every Etsy change.
Right.
And so I guess this is a good question for you, because since the forums are so different now. I used to, okay, and so people know, like my personal Facebook account got hacked, like, I don't know, 6 months ago. And I have another Facebook account now, but I haven't rejoined all of the groups that I used to be in. And I have not rejoined any of the Etsy groups I'm in, which is really odd to me. But I sort of did that on purpose because I felt like it was sort of a rehash of this sort of, every time Etsy made a change, there was like the airing of grievances.
Mm.
So do you still belong to a bunch of Etsy groups on Facebook?
I do. Okay. But for some reason, I don't see as many notifications. And I know that folks are posting in those groups all the time. I don't see as many notifications for that because I think I've watched too many Cricut videos and that crate room, that dream box thing with the big unbox. So I've watched so much of that. I feel like Facebook is like, we're going to keep showing her this. So when somebody posts a new Cricut idea or that craft dream box, they're opening it. I'm just glued to the thing. But so I don't see as much from the Etsy community, but I'm pretty sure I'm probably going to see it now. I might not even been paying attention to it. But a lot of times in those groups, there's one in particular I'm a part of. It's like over 60,000 people in this group. And it's a lot of new sellers asking some of the same questions. And then, just getting started. Can you take a look at my shop? Why isn't this selling? I'm having an issue with international shipping, all that stuff. But since I don't know that Etsy has made any recent changes over the last couple of weeks that would get anybody to get them to be up in arms about it.
Right.
Excuse me. So yeah, I have to go back and check them out now and see. That's a real good thing. I used to love going to the Etsy forums to communicate with folks. Hey, Max. That's Max, right?
That's Max.
Okay. I would call him the wrong name.
He came to visit me.
But I don't know if, like, it does seem a little bit like you have to work a little bit harder to get into some of these good rooms to chat with people. Because there are a lot of good topics that folks talk about. I just haven't been on the forums as much. It might be easier to do it if I could go through the Etsy app and get in the forums. I don't know that you can do that. I
don't think so.
So are we wrong about that? Let us know in the comments if we're wrong about that. But yeah,
I would like to, that's a good, this is a good thing to ask. I wonder how people are keeping up with Etsy changes and Etsy announcements. Like, I'm curious to know, I mean, because the forums are way different now. And the way that I get information about Etsy changes is really from, like, if a friend of mine posts about it on Facebook, or if I happen to see a post about something on Instagram, or if it shows up like on the Etsy dashboard when I log into my shop. And, so I'm curious to know, like, is that the way everyone else is hearing about Etsy changes, or are they connected to Etsy in a different way than I am? Because it's definitely, I definitely feel like Etsy has sort of diversified the way that people get information from them. Was a big, that's a big thing. So, yeah.
Well, I think that might be a great way to end this one.
Yes.
It's possible we're over 30 minutes on this. I'm not sure. We're going to see. But we would love to hear from y'all. Let us know what you think about this conversation. Did any questions pop up? Talk to us. Talk to us in the comments. Make sure you hit the subscribe button so we can have more than 3 Etsy friends following us.
Yes.
And like, share, and keep joining. We'll have a new episode that comes out every Wednesday. So we'll be here.
And I'm April.
And I'm Tasha. And
we are Handmade Network.
Oh, we almost said it at the same time. Almost. All right, so we are gone for now, but we will be back next week. See you soon.